Jake Morrison sat in his wheelchair on the park bench, watching other dog owners play fetch with their pets. His faithful companion Rex, a beautiful German shepherd, lay quietly beside him. Both had seen better days. Jake had lost the use of his legs during his military service in Afghanistan, and Rex had been his service dog for 3 years now. The dog had his own battle scars, an injured back leg from the same explosion that changed Jake's life forever. The morning sun felt warm on Jake's face, but inside he felt cold and empty. Today marked exactly 4 years since the incident that changed everything. He remembered being a strong soldier, running with his unit, feeling invincible. Now simple tasks like getting dressed took him twice as long. Rex seemed to understand his master's mood and gently placed his head on Jake's lap. Other dog owners in the park would usually smile politely and keep walking. Jake understood why. People didn't know what to say to a veteran in a wheelchair. They meant well, but their awkward glances and quick hellos made him feel more isolated. Rex was really his only true companion these days. The dog never judged him, never looked at him with pity, and never asked questions about what happened overseas. Jake watched a man throwing a tennis ball to his energetic golden retriever. The dog bounded after it with pure joy, something Rex could no longer do because of his injured leg. Both veteran and dog had learned to adapt to their new limitations, but some days were harder than others. Today was one of those difficult days. As Jake prepared to wheel himself home, he noticed something that would change his entire perspective. 2 young girls, probably around 8 or 9 years old, were walking toward him with a small brown and white dog on a leash. Unlike the other park visitors, these children weren't looking away or hurrying past. Instead, they seemed genuinely curious and were walking directly toward his bench. The girls moved with purpose, their little dog trotting happily between them. Jake felt his usual anxiety rise up. Children often asked direct questions that adults were too polite to voice. He braced himself for the typical inquiries about his wheelchair or why his dog looked different from other pets in the park. But as the girls got closer, Jake noticed something special about them. They weren't staring at his wheelchair or whispering to each other like other children sometimes did. Instead, they were looking at Rex with genuine interest and kindness in their eyes. Their own dog, a small mixed breed with floppy ears, seemed equally curious about the German shepherd. Rex's ears perked up slightly as the children approached. Despite his injuries and training as a service dog, he still enjoyed meeting new people, especially children. Jake could see his tail give a small wag, the first sign of happiness the dog had shown all morning. Maybe this encounter would be different from the others. The girls stopped a respectful distance away, their dog sitting obediently beside them. Jake noticed they had been well trained in how to approach other dogs and their owners. This wasn't going to be a typical awkward encounter with curious children. Something about their calm, respectful demeanor told Jake that these girls were special. One of the girls, a redhead with freckles, looked directly at Jake with bright blue eyes. Her sister, slightly taller with brown hair, held their dog's leash firmly but gently. Both children had the same kind, open expression that reminded Jake of his own childhood innocence. Back before the world became complicated, Jake found himself sitting up straighter in his wheelchair, unconsciously preparing for whatever these children might say or ask. Rex seemed to sense the change in his master's posture and lifted his head from Jake's lap, looking alert but relaxed. For the first time in months, Jake felt genuinely curious about what would happen next. The morning birds were singing in the trees above them, and other park visitors continued their routines in the background. But in this small corner of the park, something meaningful was about to unfold between a wounded veteran, his loyal service dog, and 2 young girls who would teach them both something important about friendship and acceptance. The redhead girl spoke first, her voice clear and confident. "Hi there. I'm Emma, and this is my twin sister, Sarah." She gestured to her brown-haired sister. "And this is Buddy," she added, pointing to their small dog who was now sitting perfectly, tail wagging slowly. Jake blinked in surprise. Most children either stared silently or blurted out questions about his wheelchair. These girls had simply introduced themselves like he was any other person in the park. "I'm Jake," he replied, his voice a bit rusty from not talking to anyone all morning. "And this is Rex." Sarah stepped forward slightly, her eyes focused on the German shepherd. "Rex looks like a very special dog," she said softly. "Is he a working dog?" Her question showed she understood the difference between pet dogs and service animals. which impressed Jake immediately. Yes, he's my service dog, Jake explained, feeling more comfortable than he expected. He helps me with different things throughout the day. He watched as both girls nodded seriously, showing they understood the importance of Rex's job. Emma knelt down to be at eye level with Rex, but she didn't reach out to pet him without permission. Can we say hello to Rex? We know we should always ask first. This simple question showed Jake that these children had been taught proper respect for service animals and their handlers. Rex would like that, Jake said, giving his dog a gentle pat. Rex, say hello. The German Shepherd's tail wagged a bit more enthusiastically, and he stretched his nose toward the girls for proper introductions. Both girls extended their hands slowly, letting Rex sniff them before gently petting his head. Buddy, their own dog, remained patient and well-behaved, clearly used to meeting new friends. Jake watched this interaction with growing amazement. These children knew exactly how to behave around a service dog. We noticed Rex has a hurt leg like our friend Tommy at school, Sarah observed gently. Tommy says his leg doesn't work the same as other kids, but he's still really good at video games and drawing. Her innocent comparison made Jake smile for the first time that morning. Emma looked up at Jake with curious eyes. Were you and Rex in the army together? Our grandpa was in the army and he told us about soldiers who work with dogs. Her respectful question showed genuine interest without being invasive or rude. Jake felt his heart warm at their respectful curiosity. We served together overseas, he confirmed. Rex and I both got hurt in the same accident, but we take care of each other now. He was surprised at how easy it felt to share this information with these young girls. That's like how Buddy takes care of us, Emma said brightly. When Sarah gets sad about moving to a new school, Buddy always knows and comes to sit with her. Sarah nodded in agreement, giving her sister a grateful smile. Jake learned that the girls had recently moved to the neighborhood with their family. Their parents had brought them to the park every morning for the past week to help them get familiar with their new surroundings before school started. They had noticed Jake and Rex several times but had been waiting for the right moment to introduce themselves. Our mom taught us that everyone has their own story, Sarah explained. She said the kindest thing we can do is be friendly to people, especially if they look lonely. This simple wisdom from their mother had guided the girls to approach Jake when others had stayed away. Buddy, the small mixed breed, had been lying quietly during the conversation, but suddenly perked up when he spotted a squirrel. Both girls immediately gave gentle commands to keep him calm, showing they were responsible dog owners despite their young age. Buddy came from the Animal Rescue Center, Emma shared. He was scared and hurt when we first got him, but now he's the happiest dog ever. Mom says love and patience can fix almost anything. Her innocent words carried deeper meaning that wasn't lost on Jake. As the girls continued talking, Jake realized something wonderful was happening. For the first time in months, he was having a normal conversation with people who weren't treating him like a victim or a patient. These children saw him as simply another person with a dog, someone worth getting to know. Rex seemed to be enjoying the attention from his new young friends. His posture was more relaxed than Jake had seen in weeks, and there was a spark in his eyes that had been missing lately. The German Shepherd was responding to the girls' genuine kindness and respect. Do you come to the park every day? Sarah asked hopefully. We're here every morning until school starts next week. Buddy really likes meeting new friends, and we do too. Her invitation was simple but meaningful. Jake found himself nodding before he even realized it. We come here most mornings, he said. Rex enjoys the fresh air and watching other dogs play. He surprised himself by adding, maybe we'll see you again tomorrow. The genuine smiles that spread across both girls' faces told Jake that this was just the beginning of something special. The next morning, Jake found himself arriving at the park earlier than usual. He tried to tell himself it was just part of his routine, but deep down he knew he was hoping to see Emma, Sarah, and Buddy again. Rex seemed more alert too. His ears perked up as they entered the park gates. Sure enough, the girls were already there with their small dog, sitting on the grass near the same bench where they had met yesterday. When they spotted Jake and Rex approaching, both girls waved enthusiastically. Buddy's tail started wagging so hard his whole body wiggled with excitement. Jake! Rex! Emma called out cheerfully. We saved your bench for you. She pointed to the empty bench they had been sitting near. This small gesture of thoughtfulness touched Jake more than the girls could ever know. As Jake positioned his wheelchair next to the bench, Sarah produced a small bag from her backpack. "We brought some dog treats," she announced proudly. "Mom helped us pick out special ones that are good for all dogs. Can we give some to Rex?" Jake was amazed by their thoughtfulness. "Rex would love that," he said. "He's always happy to get treats from friends." The word friends slipped out naturally, and Jake realized that's exactly what these girls had become in just one day. Emma carefully offered Rex a treat, following all the proper rules for feeding someone else's dog. Rex accepted it gently, his tail wagging with genuine happiness. Buddy watched patiently, knowing he would get his turn for treats too. "We told our parents about meeting you and Rex yesterday," Sarah said as she scratched behind Rex's ears. "Mom wants to know if it's okay for us to visit with you every morning until school starts. She said making new friends is one of the best parts of moving somewhere new." Jake felt a warmth spread through his chest. These children's parents were clearly raising them right, teaching them kindness and respect while also being protective. "I'd like that very much," he replied honestly. "Rex and I don't get many visitors." The girls began sharing stories about their old home and the friends they had left behind. They talked about their nervousness regarding starting at a new school and how Buddy helped them feel braver when they were worried. Their openness and trust amazed Jake, who had grown used to people being guarded around him. "Do you ever get scared?" Emma asked Jake suddenly. "I mean, about trying new things or meeting new people?" Her question was innocent but perceptive, showing she understood that adults could feel nervous too. Jake considered her question carefully. "Sometimes," he admitted. "Before I met you girls yesterday, I was feeling pretty nervous about talking to new people. But you made it easy by being so kind and friendly." His honesty seemed to resonate with both girls. Sarah pulled out a small photo from her pocket. "This is our old house and our best friend Katie," she explained, showing Jake a picture of two girls standing with another child in front of a blue house. "We miss her, but Mom says we can make new friends here too." As the morning progressed, the girls began including Jake and Rex in their games. They played simple word games that Jake could participate in from his wheelchair, and they invented new games that involved throwing toys for both Rex and Buddy to retrieve gently. When Rex struggled to chase after a thrown toy because of his injured leg, neither girl made a big deal about it. Instead, Emma suggested they play a different game where the dogs could stay closer to their humans. "This way everyone can play together," she said, matter-of-factly. Jake watched in amazement, as these children naturally adapted their play to include him and Rex without making either of them feel left out or different. They possessed a natural empathy that many adults had never learned. During a quiet moment, Sarah asked Jake about his life before the military. He found himself sharing stories about growing up on a farm, his love for animals, and how he had always dreamed of having a dog like Rex. The girls listened intently, asking thoughtful questions that showed they genuinely cared about his experiences. "Rex reminds me of the dogs my grandfather used to have on his farm," Jake told them. "Strong, loyal, and always ready to help with whatever needed doing." Rex seemed to puff up with pride at the compliment, making the girls giggle. As their time together drew to a close, Emma made an announcement that would surprise Jake completely. "Tomorrow we want to ask you something really important," she said seriously. "But we need to talk to our parents first to make sure it's okay." Jake's curiosity was immediately sparked. "Can you give me a hint about what it is?" he asked, smiling at the girls' serious expressions. Sarah shook her head firmly. "It's a surprise, but it's something really special. We think you and Rex will like it a lot." Her excitement was barely contained, and Buddy seemed to pick up on her energy, dancing around in small circles. As the girls prepared to leave, they each gave Rex a gentle hug and promised to see him tomorrow. Jake found himself looking forward to the next morning more than he had looked forward to anything in months. Watching them walk away with Buddy trotting happily between them, Jake realized these daily meetings were becoming the highlight of his days. For the first time since his injury, he felt like he had something wonderful to anticipate. Jake arrived at the park the next morning with unusual anticipation. Rex seemed to sense his excitement and kept looking toward the entrance where Emma, Sarah, and Buddy usually appeared. When the girls finally arrived, they were practically bouncing with excitement, their faces glowing with barely contained joy. "We talked to our parents last night," Emma announced as soon as they reached Jake's bench. "And we have the best idea ever," Sarah nodded enthusiastically beside her. clutching Buddy's leash with one hand and a small piece of paper with the other. Our mom said you probably don't get out much besides coming to the park, Sarah continued. And our dad said that sometimes people just need someone to invite them to do fun things. The girls had clearly been thinking deeply about Jake's situation. Emma took a deep breath and looked directly at Jake. We want to know if you and Rex would like to come to our house for a barbecue this weekend. Our parents really want to meet you, and we have a big backyard where Rex and Buddy can play together safely. Jake felt his mouth drop open in surprise. It had been over a year since anyone had invited him to a social gathering. Most people seemed to assume he wouldn't be interested, or that his wheelchair would make things too complicated. These children and their parents were offering something he hadn't even realized he was missing. Our dad looked up everything about making sure the house is accessible, Sarah added proudly. He built a ramp to our back deck last weekend just in case you said yes. Mom says she's excited to cook for someone who might actually appreciate her famous hamburgers. The thoughtfulness of this family overwhelmed Jake. Not only had they invited him, but they had taken practical steps to ensure he would be comfortable and included. I don't know what to say, he managed, his voice thick with emotion. Say yes, both girls exclaimed at the same time, making Buddy bark once in agreement. We already planned games that everyone can play, and Mom bought special treats for Rex. Plus, our backyard is completely fenced so Rex can be off his leash if he wants. Jake looked down at Rex, who seemed to understand the conversation, and was wagging his tail hopefully. The German Shepherd had always loved social gatherings before their injuries. Maybe it was time for both of them to try being around people again. Yes, Jake said quietly, then louder. Yes, I would love to come, and I know Rex would too. The girls erupted in cheers, startling several nearby pigeons into flight. Emma pulled out the piece of paper Sarah had been holding. We wrote down our address and our parents' phone numbers, she explained. Dad said you might want to call and talk to them about any special things you might need, Sarah added seriously. Mom also said to tell you that you don't need to bring anything except yourself and Rex. She said guests should just focus on having fun. The family's consideration for Jake's situation continued to amaze him. As the morning progressed, the girls excitedly shared their plans for the weekend gathering. They had thought of everything from accessible seating to games that could include someone in a wheelchair. Their natural inclusion and thoughtfulness was something Jake had rarely experienced since his injury. Our little brother Tommy is really excited to meet you too, Emma mentioned. He's only 5, but he loves dogs. Mom told him all about Rex being a hero dog, and now Tommy thinks Rex is basically a superhero. Jake learned more about the girls' family throughout their conversation. Their father worked as a construction supervisor, which explained his ability to quickly build an accessible ramp. Their mother was a teacher who specialized in helping children with different abilities, which explained where the girls had learned their natural empathy and inclusion skills. Dad says building the ramp was easy, because helping people should always be easy, Sarah shared. Mom says the best parties are when everyone feels welcome and happy. Their parents' values were clearly reflected in their daughter's kind hearts. Rex was particularly energetic during their visit, seeming to pick up on the excitement about the upcoming social event. He engaged more actively with Buddy's play attempts and even managed a few careful steps without favoring his injured leg, as much as usual. Look how happy Rex is, Emma observed. He knows something good is going to happen this weekend. The dog's improved mood was indeed noticeable, and Jake realized that Rex had been missing social interaction just as much as he had. As their morning together came to an end, the girls made Jake promise to call their parents that evening to discuss any details for the weekend. They also made him promise to tell Rex about all the fun they were going to have in their backyard. This is going to be the best weekend ever, Sarah declared confidently. Our family loves making new friends, and we're so happy you and Rex want to be our friends too. Walking away from the park that day, Jake felt a lightness in his heart that he hadn't experienced in years. Rex seemed to have an extra spring in his step, and Jake found himself actually looking forward to socializing with new people. These remarkable girls and their family were giving him something he thought he had lost forever: hope for genuine human connection. The weekend couldn't come soon enough. The redhead girl spoke first, her voice clear and confident. Hi there. I'm Emma, and this is my twin sister, Sarah. She gestured to her brown-haired sister. And this is Buddy. she added, pointing to their small dog who was now sitting perfectly, tail wagging slowly. Jake blinked in surprise. Most children either stared silently or blurted out questions about his wheelchair. These girls had simply introduced themselves like he was any other person in the park. "I'm Jake," he replied, his voice a bit rusty from not talking to anyone all morning. "And this is Rex." Sarah stepped forward slightly, her eyes focused on the German Shepherd. "Rex looks like a very special dog," she said softly. "Is he a working dog?" Her question showed she understood the difference between pet dogs and service animals, which impressed Jake immediately. "Yes, he's my service dog," Jake explained, feeling more comfortable than he expected. "He helps me with different things throughout the day." He watched as both girls nodded seriously, showing they understood the importance of Rex's job. Emma knelt down to be at eye level with Rex, but she didn't reach out to pet him without permission. "Can we say hello to Rex? We know we should always ask first." This simple question showed Jake that these children had been taught proper respect for service animals and their handlers. "Rex would like that," Jake said, giving his dog a gentle pat. "Rex, say hello." The German Shepherd's tail wagged a bit more enthusiastically, and he stretched his nose toward the girls for proper introductions. Both girls extended their hands slowly, letting Rex sniff them before gently petting his head. Buddy, their own dog, remained patient and well-behaved, clearly used to meeting new friends. Jake watched this interaction with growing amazement. These children knew exactly how to behave around a service dog. "We noticed Rex has a hurt leg like our friend Tommy at school," Sarah observed gently. "Tommy says his leg doesn't work the same as other kids, but he's still really good at video games and drawing." Her innocent comparison made Jake smile for the first time that morning. Emma looked up at Jake with curious eyes. "Were you and Rex in the army together?" "Our grandpa was in the army and he told us about soldiers who work with dogs." Her respectful question showed genuine interest without being invasive or rude. Jake felt his heart warm at their respectful curiosity. "We served together overseas," he confirmed. "Rex and I both got hurt in the same accident, but we take care of each other now." He was surprised at how easy it felt to share this information with these young girls. "That's like how Buddy takes care of us," Emma said brightly. "When Sarah gets sad about moving to a new school, Buddy always knows and comes to sit with her." Sarah nodded in agreement, giving her sister a grateful smile. Jake learned that the girls had recently moved to the neighborhood with their family. Their parents had brought them to the park every morning for the past week to help them get familiar with their new surroundings before school started. They had noticed Jake and Rex several times but had been waiting for the right moment to introduce themselves. "Our mom taught us that everyone has their own story," Sarah explained. "She said the kindest thing we can do is be friendly to people, especially if they look lonely." This simple wisdom from their mother had guided the girls to approach Jake when others had stayed away. Buddy, the small mixed breed, had been lying quietly during the conversation, but suddenly perked up when he spotted a squirrel. Both girls immediately gave gentle commands to keep him calm, showing they were responsible dog owners despite their young age. Buddy came from the animal rescue center, Emma shared. "He was scared and hurt when we first got him, but now he's the happiest dog ever. Mom says love and patience can fix almost anything." Her innocent words carried deeper meaning that wasn't lost on Jake. As the girls continued talking, Jake realized something wonderful was happening. For the first time in months, he was having a normal conversation with people who weren't treating him like a victim or a patient. These children saw him as simply another person with a dog, someone worth getting to know. Rex seemed to be enjoying the attention from his new young friends. His posture was more relaxed than Jake had seen in weeks, and there was a spark in his eyes that had been missing lately. The German Shepherd was responding to the girls' genuine kindness and respect. "Do you come to the park every day?" Sarah asked hopefully. "We're here every morning until school starts next week. Buddy really likes meeting new friends, and we do too." Her invitation was simple but meaningful. Jake found himself nodding before he even realized it. "We come here most mornings," he said. "Rex enjoys the fresh air and watching other dogs play." He surprised himself by adding, "Maybe we'll see you again tomorrow." The genuine smiles that spread across both girls' faces told Jake that this was just the beginning of something special. As the afternoon progressed, more neighbors began arriving, and Jake was amazed by how naturally everyone accepted him into their group. The Johnson family brought their 2 children, who immediately bonded with Emma and Sarah over their shared excitement about meeting Rex. The elderly couple, Mr. and Mrs. Patterson, approached Jake with genuine warmth and curiosity about his military service. "My grandson is deployed overseas right now," Mrs. Patterson shared as she gently patted Rex's head. "Hearing about you and Rex gives me hope that he'll come home safe and find good friends like this family." Her words carried deep meaning, and Jake felt honored to represent hope for another military family. The children had organized their activities with impressive efficiency. They rotated between different game stations, ensuring everyone got a chance to participate in everything. Jake found himself laughing more than he had in months as he joined in cornhole competitions and cheered during the water balloon tosses. Rex was experiencing pure joy in the large backyard. The German Shepherd played gently with Buddy, explored every corner of the fenced area, and even engaged in a careful game of fetch with Tommy, who threw the ball only short distances to accommodate Rex's injured leg. The dog's happiness was infectious, lifting everyone's spirits. During lunch, Jake found himself seated at the picnic table surrounded by genuine conversation and laughter. The neighbors asked thoughtful questions about his military service and Rex's training, showing real interest in their experiences without making Jake feel like he was being interviewed or pitied. "Rex was trained to detect explosives," Jake explained to the fascinated children. "He probably saved dozens of lives during our deployment, including mine more than once." Rex seemed to understand he was being praised and sat up straighter, earning appreciative looks from his young audience. Emma and Sarah had appointed themselves as Jake's unofficial hosts, making sure his drink was always full and that he had everything he needed. Their attention wasn't overwhelming or pitying. It was simply the natural care that good friends show for each other. "We're so glad you came," Linda said during a quiet moment when she sat beside Jake. "The girls have been happier this week than they've been since we moved here. You and Rex have given them something special, the joy of helping someone else feel welcome." Jake was struck by this perspective. He had been thinking about how much this family was helping him, but Linda was pointing out that the friendship was benefiting her daughters too. They were learning the satisfaction that comes from reaching out to others and building meaningful connections. As the afternoon wore on, Mr. Patterson shared stories about his own military service from decades earlier. The old veteran and the young veteran found common ground in their experiences, and Jake felt connected to a broader community of people who understood the challenges of transitioning back to civilian life. "The hardest part isn't the physical injuries," Mr. Patterson observed quietly. "It's feeling like you don't belong anywhere anymore. But look around you today, son. You belong here with these good people." His words hit Jake directly in the heart. The children had saved their most special surprise for last. As the sun began to set, Emma and Sarah gathered everyone around for what they called the gratitude circle. Each person was supposed to share something they were grateful for from the day. When it was Jake's turn, he looked around at the faces of these people who had welcomed him so completely. "I'm grateful for 2 little girls who were brave enough to ask, 'Can we join you?' When they saw a lonely veteran in the park," he began, his voice thick with emotion. "But I'm also grateful for parents who raised those girls to see people instead of differences, and for neighbors who open their hearts to strangers. Today, you've all reminded me what community really means." Several people wiped away tears at his heartfelt words. Rex, as if understanding the significance of the moment, stood up and walked over to each person in the circle, offering gentle nuzzles and accepting pets. The dog's gesture seemed to represent everything beautiful about the day, the power of simple kindness to bring people together. As the gathering began to wind down, the neighbors exchanged contact information with Jake and made plans for future get-togethers. The Johnson family invited him to their son's upcoming birthday party, and the Pattersons asked if he would join them for coffee sometime to share more military stories. Emma and Sarah were already planning their next park meeting with Jake and Rex, but now their conversations included ideas about introducing him to other children in the neighborhood who would start school with them. Their natural instinct was to keep expanding their circle of friendship. "This won't be our last barbecue," Mark assured Jake as they prepared to say goodbye. "You and Rex are part of our community now, whether you like it or not." His joke carried serious undertones of genuine acceptance and belonging, As Jake loaded Rex into his van and prepared to drive home, he realized that everything in his life had changed because two little girls had the courage to approach a stranger with kindness. They had given him something he thought he had lost forever, a place where he belonged. The drive home was filled with reflection on how dramatically his life had shifted in just a few short weeks, all because of the simple question, "Can we join you?" 6 months later, Jake sat on the same park bench where he had first met Emma and Sarah. But everything about his life had transformed completely. Rex lay beside him, no longer the sad, quiet dog he had been that day. The German Shepherd's tail wagged constantly now, and his eyes held the spark of a dog who knew he was loved and valued by an entire community. The park had become the center of a thriving social network that Emma and Sarah had helped create. Every morning Jake met not just the girls and Buddy, but also several other families who had joined their informal gathering. The children had natural talent for bringing people together, and their parents had embraced their daughter's gift for building community. Jake had become a volunteer coach for the local youth soccer league, using his military leadership experience to help young players develop confidence and teamwork skills. His wheelchair had never been seen as a limitation by the children, who simply accepted him as Coach Jake and competed to push his chair to different parts of the field during practice. Rex had found new purpose too. After additional training, he had become a certified therapy dog, visiting schools and hospitals with Jake to comfort children and adults who needed emotional support. The German Shepherd's gentle nature and his own recovery story inspired everyone he met. The girls had started middle school and had become leaders in their new environment, known for their kindness and their ability to help other students feel included. They often brought new friends to the park to meet Jake and Rex, continuing their mission of building bridges between people. "Remember when you were afraid no one would want to be your friend at the new school?" Emma reminded Sarah as they sat on the grass beside Jake's bench. "Now you have so many friends that we can't fit them all in our backyard for parties." Both girls had blossomed socially, learning that kindness was indeed the best way to make lasting friendships. The Henderson family had become like family to Jake. He spent most weekends at their house, had a standing invitation for all holidays, and had even helped Mark build a workshop in their garage. Linda had introduced him to other veterans in the area, creating a support network that none of them had known they needed. Jake had also reconnected with his own family, who lived several states away. His newfound confidence and happiness had enabled him to repair relationships that had suffered during his darkest period after the injury. His parents and siblings were planning their first visit in over 2 years, eager to meet the family and community that had helped their son heal. "Today marks exactly 1 year since we first met," Sarah announced proudly. "Mom helped us figure out the date. We want to celebrate our friendship anniversary every year forever." The girls had planned a small celebration, complete with a special cake that Linda had baked and new toys for both Rex and Buddy. As Jake looked around the park, he could see other friendships that had formed following Emma and Sarah's example. An elderly man was teaching a group of children how to play chess. A teenage girl was reading stories to younger kids under a shady tree. Two mothers who had met through their children were now best friends who exercised together every morning. "You know what's amazing?" Jake said to the girls as they shared their anniversary cake. "That first day when you asked, 'Can we join you?' I thought I was the one who needed help, but I think we all helped each other in different ways." His observation made both girls smile with pride. Emma nodded thoughtfully. "Mom says that's how real friendship works. Everyone gives something and everyone gets something. It's not about helping someone who's different. It's about discovering that we're all more alike than different." Her wisdom, learned through experience, would serve her well throughout her life. Rex had become something of a local celebrity, known throughout the neighborhood as the hero dog, who brought people together. Children would run up to greet him during their walks, and adults would stop to share stories about how meeting Jake and Rex had inspired them to reach out to others in their own communities. The local newspaper had even written a feature story about Jake and the girls, highlighting how a simple act of childhood kindness had created ripple effects throughout their entire community. The article had inspired similar friendship initiatives in other towns, proving that the power of inclusion could spread far beyond one neighborhood park. As the sun began to set on their anniversary celebration, Jake reflected on how completely his life had changed. The isolation and despair that had once consumed him had been replaced by purpose, connection, and joy. Rex had transformed from a sad working dog into a beloved community member who brought smiles wherever he went. "What should we do for our second friendship anniversary?" Sarah asked as they prepared to head home. "We have a whole year to plan something even more special." Her question assumed that their friendship would continue growing and deepening, which Jake knew with certainty it would. "Whatever we do," Jake replied, "it should involve helping other people discover what we've learned, that the best friendships happen when we're brave enough to reach out to someone who might need a friend." His words captured the essence of what Emma and Sarah had taught him about the power of simple kindness. As they walked toward the park exit together, Jake marveled at the journey that had brought them all to this moment. Two little girls and their dog had approached a lonely veteran and his service animal with a simple question that changed everything. Their courage to connect across differences had created a community built on acceptance, inclusion, and genuine care for one another. The question, "Can we join you?" had become more than just words. It had become a way of life that continued to transform everyone it touched. Jake knew that for the rest of his life, he would carry forward the lesson these remarkable children had taught him, that healing happens when people choose to join each other rather than walk away, and that the greatest gift anyone can offer is the simple invitation to belong.